Hello everybody. Hi, how are you? Welcome to Shirley's Wind Down Tuesday. It is Tuesday night and it is time to wind down wherever you are. It's got to be somewhere near where it's 5 o'clock or later. So join me tonight on Shirley's Thread Work. Thank you for stopping by, talking to all of you out there in YouTube land as well as Facebook land. I hope all is well. Also want to say hi and thank you to everybody that will be watching the replay. I do appreciate it. And also I want to say right off the bat, videos have had all of this lagging and everything, and I'm finding out that again I'm having internet issues. I'm actually in the process of looking to switch my internet company because for some reason they can't seem to fix my issue here. But I do appreciate you guys for sticking in and hanging on with me, and I will get it fixed one day. So hopefully that will be soon. But you probably will have some more lagging tonight. I'm so sorry. I worked on it all day, but I can't guarantee you if I'm going to have it or not. So I hope everybody can hear me and see me and all of that. If everything is okay, for all of you that's online, go ahead and give me a thumbs up or say yes or whatever if you are hearing me and seeing me well. Hello, Robin and Jenny and Carol and Marilyn and Val. Hello, everybody. Thank you for stopping by. Hi, Terry. How are you? Thank you for stopping by. So, I have several people in here and several people that are watching according to my numbers up here. So, I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And Jenny, you say, yes, you can hear me. And I'm assuming that means you can see me as well. On my end, unfortunately, I don't see the issues. Only time I end up seeing issues is after I look at the replay. So I know those of you that come into the live with me usually get a pretty good picture. I'm mainly concerned with all of those that do happen to watch the replay because I have quite a few people that do watch the replay, and I want you to be able to enjoy the live stream as much as those that actually come in. But the best way to resolve that is just come on in and be live with me. That way you will get the best of all that we have to share. So tonight I have quite a bit to talk about, and it's probably a subject that we've discussed quite a bit over and over, and it still seems to be an issue with most people, including myself. I just had someone ask me about a job and how much I charge, and like I was saying last night, not last night, last week, that the first question that comes out of a person's mouth when they want you to do something for them is how much you charge. And that's a natural response because people want to know, are you going to charge me a reasonable price as far as they're concerned? And can they afford it? And do they feel like the project that they're asking for is worth what you may be charging? So tonight we're going to talk about all of those things and see if we can come up with some resolution or at least give you a little bit more information about how to price and why you should price what you price, and hopefully be able to be comfortable with that and move forward. So I do have several people in, but it's still just 8:04 Eastern Time, 7:04 Central Time. So I'm going to wait just a tad bit longer before I start with the actual presentation. So how's the weather with everybody? Today I got up and it was storming here in Kansas City, but it did finally clear up and we did get a little bit of sun. And so it wasn't so bad. But at first it was like, oh my goodness, it is just storming up. I don't know what, a hurricane out there, something. It was a lot of wind blowing and a lot of rain. But like I said, it calmed down. So I'm hoping everybody else is having good weather where you are. So who else has hopped on since I started? I think I got everybody. Hey, Becky, how are you? Thank you for stopping by. And Becky, you say it's hot in Texas still. And Carol, you said smoke finally cleared up yesterday, but it has been nasty. So, yeah, that's too bad about the air quality. The air quality is not good. Then that is a problem. It's just as bad as having rain, I guess. And Robin, you say it's sunny and 70 in Maryland, so that is good. And so I just had to look at my phone. My husband had to fly out today, so he has made it. He has landed. So glad of that. Everything is okay on that end, so I don't have to worry about him in the air. He's on the ground now. But anyway, let me see what is going on. So how's the weather in the Baltimore area, Terry? How's it doing there? Is it raining, cloudy, cold, windy? What's going on there? Yes, Jenny, it's good that he made it safe. Yeah, I tell you, with all this flying and stuff that's going on with the planes and stuff, I'm not too keen at it, even though I got a couple of trips coming up starting next week. But it is what it is. Either you stay at home and worry about it, or you keep living and go on and do what you got to do and just live your life. So you just have to do what you got to do. Hi, Catherine. How are you? Thank you for stopping by. I'm not recognizing your name, but I'm pretty sure you've been here before. If not, then welcome. Thank you for stopping by. And if you have, and I forgot your name, then please forgive me because I can't remember everybody. I try to keep it in my memory, especially those that come every Tuesday. I pretty much know those names. But anyway, thank you and welcome for coming by. Terry, you said it's sunny and cool in the upper 70s out there where you are. And Jenny, you said it's 89 in San Antonio. And how has the All Brand show been? I know, Jenny, you've gone to it for a few days. How has that gone? Was it interesting? Did you have fun? What's going on with All Brand? I believe that's where you said you were or have been for the week or the weekend. And Catherine, you said it's been a while. Okay, good, good, good. So you have stopped in, but I'm glad that you're back. So thank you so much for stopping by again. Do appreciate that. So, Jenny, you said it was fun and you learned a lot. And I really would be happy if I could go to a big show like that or something with one of the big companies and stuff. But so far, I haven't anywhere where that has occurred, anywhere near me. And I was looking at some of the classes and vendors that's going to be at the Sewing and Quilt Expo in Fredericksburg later on this month. And I was like, doggone it, this year it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of people there. And I'm nowhere near close enough to go to it. I didn't go to it last year. And I definitely won't be able to go this year because I'm too far away, number one. And number two, I already have a couple of trips planned for this month. So that just counts me out as far as being able to make it back to the Maryland, Virginia area. So those of you that are going, keep me posted and let me know how it goes. I don't think anybody's on here yet that's actually going, but I do know that Leslie and Jeanette and a few more people, I think Danielle, maybe Deborah, are going. Probably Taisha or Miss Banks may be going as well if she's feeling better. I don't know. But anyway, whoever's going, just let us know how it turned out because it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun this year. And Jenny, you said we had a lady that came all the way from Alaska. Oh my goodness. And then you said I can come next year. Who knows? I might be able to do that. That's a good idea. I didn't know it was coming up. If I know ahead of time, I might be able to do that. Sounds good. And Carol, you say you need to retire so you can go to shows. But if I retired, then you can't afford to go. Montana's too far from everywhere. You know what? That is a thought. You guys, it's got to be something kind of close to you that you can go to, though, hopefully. And Val, you say you're going to the Lancaster Quilt Show this weekend. Okay, that sounds like fun. Keep us posted. Let us know how all these different shows and stuff are going, if they're good vendors, if you learn a lot, if you look at some really interesting machines. I think I got an email today from Husqvarna Vikings, and they have a new sewing machine. I didn't get a chance to look at it and see what all it does. I don't think it's a combo machine. I think it's just strictly sewing. But it looked very interesting. All of the big companies are coming out with their machines this fall. And I really would love to be able to look at some of them, but don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Well, okay, we're getting into the 8 o'clock hour, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And tonight is week 2 of a 6-week series, and the topic for tonight is pricing without fear, how to value your embroidery work fairly. And I know that is a difficult thing to do for all of us. Like I said, I just got a call about an order, and the first thing they asked was how much. I did quote a price, but then I also stipulated some things that could potentially change the price. So we have to make sure that we include all of those things. So let me go ahead and get started. No matter where you're tuning in from across the United States, Canada, Australia, UK, I have people that watch from all over the place, and I'm very glad. But wherever you are in the world, embroidery does connect us all. So we're going to talk about the struggle that we have with pricing things fairly. And I know some of the biggest fears that I hear, and some of the fears that I have, is that if I price it too high, no one is going to buy. Nobody's going to want to pay what it actually costs to do the garment. But when we do that, we do ourselves a disservice, to be honest about it. Underpricing hurts. It hurts our own business, and it hurts the business of all of the other embroiderers or people around, because it lowers the expectation of price. If you overprice, then you think it's not fair, so you have this dilemma. So you have to understand what the value of what you are, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. A way to avoid both traps, and that is pricing too low or underpricing, or pricing too high. So the first thing I'm going to ask, and again, we will be doing questions and answers tonight. So drop in the chat so we can get some conversation going, get you involved and all of that. First question is, have you ever lowered your price because you were afraid the customer would walk away? So someone approached you about a job, and in your head, you had one price, but you were afraid to speak that price, so you came out with a lower price simply because you thought that first price was too high and the customer would not pay it. So has anyone ever done that? Is anyone guilty besides me? I have to admit, I have done that, and I know it's not the right thing to do, but I have done that. So has anybody else done that? Go ahead and put an answer in the chat. And while you guys are doing that, I will read. Jenny said she's going to the Houston International Quilt Festival in October, so she's super excited. That sounds like fun as well. So you're getting a chance to go to a bunch of stuff. Boy, I need to be in Texas. So anybody put an answer in here? Well, while you guys are thinking about it, let me go on. Catherine, you said you have. Okay, so I'm not the only one that has done that. It's common. I think we all do it, if whether you admit it or remember it. But I think we all tend to do that. And embroidery has its value everywhere, but people do vary what they pay based upon the region. So we do have to make sure that we know what our market would bear. That's the main thing, or that's an important thing. I won't say the main thing, but it's a very important thing, is to know what your market would bear. I have seen people on Facebook asking this question over and over again about how much should I charge for this and how much should I charge for that. And people will put into the comments what they charge and everything, and not taking into consideration that whatever a person may pay, say in California or New York, certainly is not going to be the same thing that they're going to pay in Richmond, Virginia, or even somewhere in, in a small town or what have you. That's not going to happen. So you have to take that into consideration. Now, Catherine, you say you don't anymore, especially if they mention what someone else quoted. Yeah, I don't go by what other people have quoted them. I do go by what I feel my skills are worth. But I have to be, I'm just being honest. This conversation is for me as well, because I know that I do not charge what I should charge. And as we go through this, you'll see that probably none of us charge what we should. People in the US and Canada love baby blankets and towels and things like that, and because they like them for keepsakes, and they may be willing to pay $30 or $50 or more for it. People in Europe value heritage stitching, and they pay for handmade things because that's unique to them. People in Australia like to personalize school gears and hats and backpacks and those kinds of things. So they may be paying more for that. So as I mentioned, what your market bears and what people are willing to pay depending on where they are. So the lesson here is that fair pricing is universal. It is definitely based upon where you are and what you are producing. But you have to be sure not to undervalue yourself and to set the bar too low, because like I said, not only are you cheating yourself, you're cheating all the other people around you, because like you were mentioning, Catherine, about people coming to you and telling you what other people have quoted. People are going to come to you and tell you that they can get this done at a lower price, but then you have to stop and think about it. If that is true, why are you coming to me? Why haven't you gone back to the person with the lower price? It has to be a reason. And 99% of the time is because that lower price person quality doesn't match up to yours. That's why they're not charging the same amount of money. So do not let that be something that is going to intimidate you and make you want to equal that price. Because like I said, if someone comes to you and say, Joe Blow down the street will charge $10 and you're charging me $20, well, then that person needs to go back to Joe Blow. But they don't want to go there, because obviously when they went there and paid their $10, they didn't get their $10 worth. So that's why they're coming to you. So just keep that in mind. So don't get intimidated by that. So customers don't want cheap stuff. They don't want to pay. They want to pay cheaply, but they don't want cheap stuff. They want good quality things. And people will pay more money if your quality is good. If you have the skills or the ability to develop something or stitch something or make it look good, they're going to pay you what you ask them for, because they're going to like the work. And they will come back to you. And like Catherine, you mentioned, and that's exactly what I've done, just suggest they go back to them. Because if they feel like they can get it cheaper somewhere else, then that's where you need to go, because you're not going to get the same price from me, because I feel like the value of what I do is worth more money. So also, we got to be practical. If you overprice yourself, then you're going to price yourself out of the market too. So how do you balance all of this? How do you make this work? and what are the key factors and everything that you need to be following to make sure that you're going to kind of stay within the balance of not underpricing or overpricing. So I put together some slides, and I have to be honest about it, with the help of Chat GPT. That's my new friend. I was able to put together a couple of slides, well, more than a couple of slides, but a couple of separate presentations. So I'm going to run through these slides right quick, and we can discuss while they are showing. So I'm going to go ahead and put up the first slide, and maybe I can move myself. Let me see if I can. I was trying to get myself out of here. I might just take me off of now. Can you see me and the slide? Can you see me and the slide? Let me know. I was trying to know video, audio, video is good. Not video, audio, video is good. Okay, so you all can see the slide and me. I'm getting yeses. So I'll just stay on here. I guess I was trying to make it bigger, but I can't. So I'll just stay on here so you all can see me in the slide. And I'll just, read it for you guys in case you don't see it well enough. Perfect. You are on the side and we can hear you. Good. Great. Glad. So understanding the true cost of machine embroidery, evaluating your skills and unique offering, calculating fair and profitable pricing, and communicating with your customers. That's the agenda. So understanding the true cost of machine embroidery. First thing you consider is material costs, which includes your thread, fabric, stabilizers, and supply. Comprehensive material counting includes all consumable like threads, fabric, needles, and stabilizers to accurately calculate your project cost. We don't tend to take the time to do that, but we need to, and there are tools out here available for you to use to help you figure out how to do that. Project pricing accurately accounts for the material and ensures that correct pricing is done to avoid any profit loss in your project. We will quote a price and not necessarily take the time to think about all of the materials that we're using. So we have to take that into account. We also need to take into account the equipment, investment, and maintenance. Initial equipment investment, that's what we paid up front to get our precious machines, whether they're single needle machines, multi-needle machines, a combination of both. We have to take that into consideration. You have to evaluate your upfront cost of purchasing an embroidery machine. It is crucial for budgeting your business expenses effectively. whether you're still paying on your machine or you've already paid for it, you bought it up front, however it is, it was a cost and a huge cost, regardless of what kind of machine you have. Even if it's a single flatbed machine that only costs you $500, $1,000, all the way up to the big multi-needle machines that can cost up to $20,000+. We all know that. So those are huge expenses that we are paying for or have paid for that need to be put into consideration. Also, the fact maintenance costs. You have to maintain the machine. It has to have regular maintenance. It's necessary to keep the machine operating efficiently and avoid costly repair. So if you're doing your annual maintenance, it can cost you anywhere from $300 to over $1,000, depending upon what has to be done and how many machines you have. I remember Jeanette saying she has 3 machines and 2 or 3 flat needle machines, and she was out of $1,300+ at one pop, just having her machines maintained. And so can you imagine how much more it probably would have been if it wasn't because of the fact that her guy, Justin, comes in. If she was taking it into a shop, they probably would charge more. I'm pretty sure they would. You have to use what they call cost amortization, and that is a tax situation that you use when you're doing your taxes, but you spread the initial and maintenance costs over time to accurately reflect the expenses within product pricing. So that is something that you definitely need to take into consideration. Also, time and labor consideration. Your design time. Did you do your own digitizing? Did you look for a design that you had to purchase? Or were you, even if you had the design already, you still had to set it up, you had to get the right size, do the color sort and all of the things that you have to do. So there's design time that takes place. You have to consider the time you invested in creating that unique design before you start the production. If it is already a design that you purchased, already made up, and like we talked about personalization last week, if you decide to, if they want their name or initials or something added to it, or they want you to take a part off of that design and put something else on there, that is still designing, and you have to do that, and that takes time and money. Also, your setup and preparation time. Include the hours spent preparing the material, setting up the equipment before the stitching even begins. Stitching and finishing. Account for the labor involved in stitching and the final touches that complete the item. And then on here, fair labor compensation. Even though you may be a one-person company, you still need to be compensated. If you're big enough to have someone that you pay to help you, then that's labor. They have to be compensated. So you have to make sure that you ensure the value of the labor and compensate fairly, and that is to be included in the price. So you can't forget about those things. So now you evaluate your skills and unique offering, which also becomes part of the cost. Skill level and experience impact on pricing. Now, like we talked about last week, you don't have to wait until you are consider yourself an expert before you can start selling your wares. If you know how to make something really, really good, then you can sell that. If you can stitch on t-shirts, or you can make mug rugs, you can make coasters, you can make zipper pouches, whatever it is that you are really good at, that you feel like you can make and people want to buy from you, then that is your skill level, and you have to include that in your price. The higher your skill is, the more command there is for a higher price due to what it is that you have to offer. It's no different than people when they go to school, when they go to college, they get the bachelor's degree. They make one salary. Then they upgrade to a master's degree. Of course, they expect to get a raise. Their education has improved. You move all the way way up to your doctorate or some type of specialty degree or certificate, then you expect more money for that because your skill level has increased. So that's the same thing with your embroidery. As your skill level increases, so should your cost. Experience has value. So always keep that in mind. Jeanette is an excellent example of that. She will tell you she considers herself an expert. She does a lot of custom work, and she will take on high price items because she's very confident in her skill. Therefore, she will and has charged top grade money for her products. And we should be doing the same. As our skill improves, our prices goes up. And your customer will accept that because they know that you do good work. Custom designs and personalized services. I just mentioned that when we have to customize something in that design, that gives a higher value to your product as well. So it becomes unique and no one else has anything like it but you, because you customized it to their specification, even if it's just putting their initial on it, their name on it, a phrase, whatever it is that they want, or even the color changes different from what that design was already digitized for. They may not like blues and greens. They may want purples and yellows or what have you. So you have to prepare and change the colors and all of that. So that's customization. And of course, that is a higher value. And again, quality standards and attention to detail, that makes everything go up. And you have to make sure you have consistent quality of your work. And with all of that, now you can calculate fair and profitable pricing. Cost plus pricing. This model adds a fixed percentage and markup. Markup, remember that word, markup, to the cost of materials and labor to set the final price. I don't think we do that very well. Oftentimes we tend to pass on only the price of what we paid for the item. If you do a shirt and you only paid $3 for the shirt, you can't just charge $3 for the shirt. There has to be a markup, or you're not going to make a profit. So if you paid $3 for the shirt, there's a percentage that you need to be using, and oftentimes it's 50% or even higher. So just keep that in mind. That's part of the markup. And the cost of the material and the labor does go up. Value-based pricing. Prices are determined based on the perceived value the customer has rather than just the cost incurred. So if you only paid the $3 and you sell their shirt back to them for $3 plus whatever you charge for doing it, you haven't put value on that, because that $3 shirt is now worth way more than $3 because you have embellished it, you have embroidered on it, you have added value to that. So that shirt price definitely goes up. And something else that we don't do is charge an hourly rate pricing. Pricing is based on the number of hours spent creating the product multiplied by an hourly rate. I can't say that anymore than the fact that we don't pay ourselves. That's the biggest thing that we don't do. We don't pay ourselves. And when I say we, I'm talking about me. I know there are people that have said they will not turn their machine on for less than $15. Period. And there is a part in this presentation where I talk about that. You have to have what they call, I think it's called the floor price or the mark of the floor. I'll get to that. But there has to be a price that is your bare minimum. I don't care if they just want one letter stitched on a shirt, on a bib or whatever, and it's only, say, 2,000 stitches. you still have to have that bare price, that regardless, if you turn your machine on, it's going to be $15 or $20 or whatever that floor is. That's going to be the starting point, and then you go up from there. So keep that in mind. Factoring in overheads, profit margin, and market rates, they include the indirect costs. Your overhead expenses are your utilities, packaging, marketing, your rent or mortgage, all of those things that you have to pay. If you are working inside of your house, then the room that you are using, that has value. That's the part that you have to include in your costs. Determine whether your profit margin, what your profit margin is going to be in order to grow and sustain your business. And analyze your competitors' price to maintain competitive advantage in the market. And Carol, you say you've heard of people charging a hooping fee. That is the floor. That is the floor price. That is the hooping fee, which means I will not turn my machine on and hoop anything without a fee, without a set price, regardless of what it is. And then you go up from there. That's what they're talking about, Carol, when they say hooping fee. Adapt your prices for bulk orders and unique commissions. Now, what that means is that you can kind of give a discount of some sort depending upon how many items you make. Say, for instance, you do shirts at a flat rate of, you'll put one name, 5 letters max on a hoodie for $35 for one hoodie. Somebody wants 20 hoodies. You don't have to charge them $35 times 20. You can mark that down a little bit to get that big bulk order and still make a profit. You still need to figure out what that discounted price is. But that's where they are talking about adapting your price for bulk orders and unique commissions. So pricing unique commission is setting the price for commission that reflect the uniqueness and craftsmanship of your item. If you're not doing anything, say for instance, you're doing glitter vinyl on all the shirts, and the glitter vinyl, the Caesar glitter vinyl just kind of rips right off when you stitch it. You don't really have to take the scissors and cut it, so it's easy. So even though it is a special thing that you're doing and you're doing it bulk, you can probably scale the price down a little bit because you don't have to put the same effort into that using the glitter vinyl like you would if you're doing a regular applique where you actually have to go in with the scissors and cut and cut and cut. So it saves a little time. Communicating your value to your customers. You have to educate your customers. Now, I know that Jeanette has talked about that. You explain to them what it is that you're doing, and you know, they don't know. They don't know what all is involved in embroidery. Some people will tell you, well, the machine does all the work. That machine is not going to get up and hoop anything, cut out, stabilize it, thread itself, pick out the design, digitize the design. The machine does not do it all by itself. The machine is not going to make sure everything is lined up straight and centered. All of those things that we as human beings do to make sure that it's going to stitch out correctly, we do that. The machine does not do that. The machine does the manual labor part of putting the stitches in, and it just does one little thing all the time. It won't even do that if you don't tell the machine to do it. If you don't program the machine correctly, it will not even do that. So if someone comes up to you and tell you that you don't have anything to do, the machine does all the work, please politely educate them and let them know that that is nowhere near the truth. If it isn't for you and your skill, the machine won't be able to do a doggone thing, not at all. So make sure that you communicate the amount of time dedicated into each project, which emphasizes the value. Talk about and highlight the use of the material that you're using, the durability and the appeal, all of that. And then the craftsmanship of what it is that you do. All of that justifies the price that you are charging. Then you present the item details and pricing breakdown. Now, I don't think that you have to go through all of that to every customer that you have, breaking down. Some people will give them an itemized list. Some people have contracts and everything that they develop for every uh, job that they do, and on their job that they're doing. Say, for instance, I'm doing a hoodie and I'm putting glitter vinyl on it, and I'm putting glitter vinyl and satin stitches of a name, and then I write out this contract, and it goes through all of the stuff that I do and what I've used and all of that stuff, and then you come down with a price. I don't think that we have to do that detail, but it doesn't hurt for them to know some of the things that go into that price, so they will know exactly what it is that you're charging for and why you're charging them $35, $45, $50 for that hoodie or whatever it is that you're charging. So they'll understand what the value is. They're not going to go into Target. They're not even going to go into Walmart. They're not going to go on Amazon, anywhere, and get that exact shirt that you make. And whatever price that they pay, they're going to pay it. There's not going to be any haggling going back and forth. You do not walk into Walmart and pick up an item that you like, that you want, and go to the cash register and say, well, I don't want to pay $15 for this. I only want to pay $12. And then they say, okay, no, you're going to pay what the ticket price says. So that's the same thing. And they're not going to tell you that their stuff was mass produced in a sweatshop. And when you look at it, you see that there are flaws, because oftentimes we will find items that do have flaws. Whereas if we do it at home or wherever we're doing our work, we're going to catch the flaw before you get your hands on it, and we're going to correct it if there are any flaws. So when they pick up their item, it's going to be flawless. It's going to be flawless. So they're going to have to pay you what you charge, because it's worth it, because of the quality. So with all of that, fair pricing is important. Fair pricing balances production costs, artisan skill, which is our skill, and market demand to ensure profitability and sustainability. You have to communicate your value effectively. Communicating the value of your craft helps the customer appreciate quality and justifies the pricing. When you're communicating to them what it is you're doing and why and how, the material that you're using, all of those things, that justifies your price. And then sustainable business growth. You have to have a balanced pricing strategy to support and sustain your growth and long-term success for your embroidery business. If you don't do those things, then your business is not going to last, and you're not going to make any money. So it's very important that you come up with a mechanism to do that. Now, I did go through those slides pretty quickly. I have couple of more that are a little bit more entailed, because what I was able to do was develop, well, I didn't do it. I had a Excel cost pricing tool developed that takes into account all of the things that you need to add or consider when you are pricing something. Now, I've seen an Excel tool several times. Matter of fact, I think I bought at least a couple of them, where people have developed this pricing tool and have everything broken down to the cost of thread and you know how many inches of thread, square inches of your stabilizer, how much time it took you to change the thread. All of those things can be programmed into this tool, and they can give you an exact count of how much you're supposed to charge per item. Now, it's tedious, but there are some people that do that. I don't know if that would be something that would be sustainable for me every time I did an order, because to me, well, it's not really a lot of work if you have everything set up and all you have to do is just put in how many you have it set up where it works for certain items. And if you make these certain items all the time, then your program is set up to calculate what the cost is for those items. And you just put in, I made 3 baby bibs with 5 letters, and believe it or not, it will calculate exactly how much you need to charge. That's how these Excel tools are. And there are different softwares that you can buy that does that if people are interested in that. I bought one and looked at it, and I have to be honest about it. To me, it was like, oh my goodness, this is a lot of work. But when you actually use it, it is not a lot of work. And it's interesting to see how accurate it can be. And I don't know how many people actually does that, but I have to tell you, if you use it for a little while, it will help you be able to determine about how much money you should be charging for all your different garments, all your different items. And then you may not have to use it that often because, say, for instance, you use that software for 3 months because you do the same things over and over and over again for 3 months. You have a good idea how much time, energy, how much material, all of those things are going to be used for that particular item. Therefore, you're not going to have to use that software every day and plug in those numbers because you already know it takes X amount of time and X amount of material to make this particular bib. So I can tell people, if you want this particular bib, it's going to cost you $16.50 or whatever. And you know that, and you're going to feel good about that particular price because you have enough data to justify that price. But do we do that? Have we done that? Do we wishy-wash with our prices? Do we say one price this time and turn around a month later and do the exact same project for somebody else and use a different price? And again, are we charging the right amount of money? So this I will show you, and it's mostly writing, so I'm going to read it to you, but this makes the most sense to me. And this is coming from an Excel tool, pricing tool that ChatGPT set up for me. And it starts off with the core formula. And I didn't put any specific numbers or anything in. I just put up the concept. And the concept is the core formula for your price is material plus labor plus overtime. Multiply that by 1 plus your markup. Remember, I mentioned the word markup percentage, and we'll get to markup in a minute. Then it enforces a medium price floor. And then when I said medium price floor, Carol, that is what hooping fee means, a minimum price floor, where that's your hooping fee. If your hooping fee is $15, that's your minimum price floor. So all of the stuff that I talked about, material, labor, overhead, and markup, is on top of your medium price floor. The material consists of blank items, stabilizer, thread, specialty supplies, and packaging. Labor is all hands on time. And that includes your setup, hooping, thread color changes, applique cutting, stitching, trimming the threads off, pressing, and packing. And that is time your hourly rate. Now, I mentioned hourly rate. How much money do you expect to make per hour? Every job we've ever had, you wanted to know how much you were going to make per hour. Even if you're salaried, you figure out how much you get paid per hour. That's what we think about. So that's the same way we should be with our embroidery. Then your overhead includes your machine depreciation and maintenance, all of the needles that you have to change, the electricity, your software that you invested in, your rent or mortgage for your studio room, your admit time. What is admit time? That is all of your paperwork that you have to do, all of the paperwork that you have to do. And that is the charge per dollar per production hour. So that's how you come up with your overhead costs. Then markup. Markup covers your profit. If you don't have a markup, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have a product, any profit, because your profit is what's left after all the costs. And that should be anywhere between 25 and 50% retail, not wholesale. Wholesale is a discount. This is retail. So markup should be anywhere between 25 and 50%. What does that mean? If it actually costs you, say, $20 to make an item, then your markup should be 25 to 50% on top of that. That's your markup. And like I mentioned, your price floor or your minimum price floor, that protects the tiny jobs. That's your $15 to $20 minimum. That goes back to what you were talking about, Carol, as far as hooping fee. Your price floor means this is the least amount that I'm going to charge regardless of what I make. Nothing is going to get made for less than that price. And that's why you see people mention hooping price, or I'm not cutting on my machine for anything less than $15. I don't care what it is that you want me to do. I don't care how long it takes me. It could take me 5 minutes. The minimum price is going to be $15 or $20, whichever one you decide to be your minimum floor price. Or it could be more than that, depending upon what the market will bear. But that's something that we definitely have to consider. It should not be any $10 embroidery. I don't think anybody could sustain anything as far as a business or making any profit if you're charging $10 or less for an item. It has to be at least 15 to 20 or more, and that's your bottom line without anything added on top of that. And set your hourly rate fair to you. You have to have an hourly rate. Start with a target between $25 and $45 per hour. Now, I'm not saying that you're charging them $25 plus all of this other stuff, because if it doesn't take you a whole hour to make one item, then you're not charging them the whole $25 per hour, because it didn't take you an hour. If it took you 5 minutes to do it, and that is divided by your 60 minutes. And that's how you divide that into your 25 or your 45 dollars per hour. So keep that in mind. I'm not telling you that you're going to charge them $15 plus $25 plus all your overhead and all that stuff. That's not what I'm saying. That's not how it works. It just, you have to have that math part. And math is not my greatest skill, but that's why we have the computer to do all of that for us. Now, if you want $35 an hour, but only 80% of your time is actually stitching time, then the rest of your time has to be for administration. And when that's just a little tip they put in there, because $35 an hour, $45 an hour is a little high, a little steep, and it's really for the more complicated jobs or the higher skill. If you go to some of these big embroidery companies, and you go in there and tell them what you want, you will notice that their products are expensive. I went into, I believe, Lid. Lid is a store, a retail store that sells embroidered caps, baseball caps, and all of that. And you can pay $75 just for one cap. And you know, 75, you can buy a cap for way less than $75 and do it yourself. But people will pay that $75 because they're getting a nice cap, they're getting beautiful embroidery, and the store is set up really nice. All of those things take into account when you walk in that store. You're looking at these walls and walls of all these beautifully embroidered caps with every team in the world on there, and you're willing to pay and shell out that $75 or whatever the cost of the cap is. I've seen the caps. They look nice. I'm not going to pay that kind of money for it, for me, because I can do it myself. But there's a whole lot of people that do, because they feel the value. And the reason why that cap is so expensive, they're adding all of this into their price, material, overhead, markup, the floor, their hourly rate for their employees. All of that has been added into the price of that hat, that cap. And that's why you're paying $50 to $75 for that cap. That's exactly why. Now, am I saying that's what we should be doing? I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that's why they come up with that. Now it goes on to talk about time math that matches reality. Reality is what we can charge. I don't think that we can get away charging $75 for a cap if we're making them at home. I don't think so. Who knows? Some people can. But you have to break everything down. And it talks about breaking down your setup and hooping anywhere from 8 to 12 minutes for every hoop that you do. So if you're making multiple hats, you got to take that into consideration, especially with caps, because it takes you a while to hoop a cap. It takes a while. Your color changes. Color changes is estimated around 30 seconds. More if you have a lot of color change. If you have a multi-needle machine, you don't have to do that many color changes manually. And if you have to do, say for instance, I have a 10-needle machine. Now I can do 10 colors without having to change my thread anymore. So if your product comes within that 10 colors, we're good. I just have one thread set up and I'm done. But if you bring me a project that requires 20 different colors, that means I have to change my thread twice. I have to put the first roll of thread up and then the second roll of thread up to get the 20 colors. So that's extra time. So I'm going to definitely have to charge extra for that time. So the 30 seconds increase because it's multiplied. Stitching time. Stitching time is stitches per minute. The real world stitch per minute is never, ever true. Most people run their machines, even though they say the machines can stitch up to 1,000 stitches per minute. Some of them say 1,200 stitches per minute. How many people actually stitch that fast? I know I don't. I have never run my machine at 1,000 stitches per minute. The highest that I personally have stitched has been up to 800 stitches per minute. Now, I know when Justin came and adjusted my machine and did the maintenance on it, he did run it up to 1,000, and I'm pretty sure that was as a machine check. But for me personally, 800 is the fastest I've ever ran my machine. And I have to be honest, I run mine anywhere between 500 and 700. Rarely do I go faster than that range. And it depends upon what it is I'm stitching. There are some things that I would stitch even less than 500. I'll go all the way down to the 400, which is the minimum my machine stitches at. If I'm doing metallic thread, if I'm doing a very sheer fabric, if I'm doing freestanding lace, those are the things that I will put my machine down to the bare speed. Therefore, it's going to take longer to do. So your time goes up, takes longer. Applique. Now, for me, I don't think I have actually sold anything that was an applique. And I've done that on purpose because that takes more time. Now, do I do appliques for myself? Yes, I love doing appliques for myself. Do I do appliques as gifts? Yes, I have. But have I actually did a project where I recommended an applique, or have I put any appliques on my Etsy shop? No. And that has been on purpose because that puts you in a position to make more mistakes and also takes more time. So appliques for selling for me is pretty much a no-no. No one has asked me, and I certainly have not suggested it. But it does say you have to add some minutes on for applique, which is true because you have to take into consideration all the steps that are required when you're doing applique. And that is for each piece that you put on there that is part of the applique. If you have 5 letters that are applique, you have to do the positioning, the tack down, the satin or whatever you're gonna, you got to do the trimming, and then you put your satin. All of it. It's like 4 or 5 steps that you have to go per letter. Per letter. That's why I don't do it. It takes too much time. Then they talk about finishing, which is the trimming, the lint rolling, pressing, removing the stabilizer, adding tender touch if you do that for children. All of that comes out to be 5 or 10 minutes. So that's stuff that you add on. Then you talk about your material costs, which a lot of people forget about. Your stabilizer. Stabilizer is not cheap. But I do want to remind you, John Deere says, we all know who John Deere is, that all stabilizers are made within 1 or 2 factories, regardless to whose brand name is on it. So don't get hooked up on a brand name stabilizer. They pretty much all do the same. So get good stabilizer. I've not run across bad stabilizer. I guess there is such a thing, but I haven't had that problem. And I get my stabilizer off of Amazon. I've been using stabilizer off of Amazon ever since I've been stitching, and I don't think I've had an issue with my stabilizer. Now, stabilizer is priced by area used, and that's your hoop area time how many layers times the cost per square inch. Again, math. Let the computer do the math for you. Your thread. The simple rule of thread is 3 cents per 1,000 stitches. And that's just an example, because if you have thread that breaks and snaps and what have you, and you're constantly threading it and you're pulling it through and so forth and so on, you may use more thread. But anyway, the average rule or the simple rule is 3 cents per 1,000 stitches is what you charge for thread. So, that lets you know, because thread is not cheap. And if you're using metallic thread or some specialty thread, then you need to add that cost onto it, or increase that. Instead of being 3 cents per thousand, it may go up to 4 or 5 cents per thousand, depending upon how much your thread costs. Then your specialty supplies, you take that into consideration. All of this is the material cost. Your topper, your water-soluble topper, your puff foam, magnets, if you're making anything that requires you to put a snap or magnet or something on it, patches, if you make them and put them on or what have you, even though you may be doing the ones that you just press and not sew. If you're doing the ones that you sew on, that's even more work. Your vinyl, your faux leather or cork, whatever you're using for whatever that project may include, and et cetera, et cetera. Packing. How many of us charge for the poly bag? I always bag my stuff. I bag them individually before I put them in the shipping bag. How many people charge for that? Your tissue, if you wrap it up in tissue. Stickers, I put a thank you sticker on mine. I put a care card in mine. All of that is approximately, they said, about 50 cents an item. And then your shipping material, boxes, mailers, tape, all of that needs to be charged. I don't think I've added those charges onto my price. I never have, but those are expensive and we need to charge for it. And then, of course, your overhead, as I mentioned, and that includes depreciation of your machine, the service for your machine, your rent or mortgage percentage, your software that you purchase, your utilities, your needles, your bobbin, all of those things. And they say a simple starting point for that is between $4 to $8 per production hour. And then we get back to the markup and margin. And there's a difference. And why does both of them matter? Markup in a calculator, if you're using a pricing tool, it multiplies your cost to arrive at a retail price. And then they start at a 30% and then they adjust up. And for wholesale, if you are selling wholesale, which I don't think any of us do, and that's selling business to business, wholesale business to business, then you work backwards from that because they do get a discount. So those are the things that you take into consideration when you are charging people. So all of that information is good. It tells you all of the things that you need to be looking at and thinking about when you are deciding to sell something. Now, I know most of you all are thinking, because I felt the exact same way, that when the first time I ever saw one of these tool sets, it's too much work. That is way too much work. I don't have time to be putting in all these numbers and figuring all this stuff out and thinking about all of this stuff. It's more work to do that than it is to make the garment. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a business major. All of those things, I'm sure it's probably was running through your head, because I know that's exactly what ran through my head the first time I saw it. It's like, it's too much work. I just want to make the stuff, give you a price, sell it, and move on. And that's probably what most of us do. But you have to still keep in mind, even though you may or may not use a tool, when you are given a price, like Jeanette has said, don't ever give a person a price straight out when they ask you how much you charge. You can't tell them how much you're going to charge until you know what it is you're going to do. Somebody will come up to you and say, I want you to make a blanket for me to put my baby's name on it. You need to know what kind of blanket it is, how many letters is in that name, what font you want, what thread you want, what size you want on. All of those things are important before you can tell them how much you're going to charge them. And then take into consideration all the other things as far as thread, stabilizer, the bobbin thread, all of those things. Keep that in your head. If you don't use a tool, you still have to think about it. And you definitely need to think about that hooping fee, which is a simple way to remember. the hooping fee, which means I'm not going to charge you anything less than $15 just to get started. And then we will go up from there. That's what you need to keep in mind. And the more work you have to do, the more complicated the project is, the higher that price is going to be. So if we keep that in mind, we will be able to charge a good price. And you cannot be intimidated by your customer, because everybody's going to want to get the most that they can for the least amount of money. We are the same way. We want to get the most we can for the least amount of money. Everybody wants to save money. But on the other hand, you want to make money if you're going to do the work. So you have to make sure that that's exactly what you're doing, or your price is not going to sustain you. You can't have a blanket price, I guess is what I'm saying. All shirts can't be $25. All hoodies can't be $30. All bibs can't be $10. If that's what you've been doing, then you're doing a disservice to yourself, because you haven't taken into consideration all of the things that go into what it is that you're making and what it is that you have to do. Now, what if you can't make things quickly? I know part of my issue is when I first started embroidering, I heard the term $2 per 1,000 stitch. And I'm pretty sure most of you, they started off $1, and then I think it went up to $2 per 1,000 stitches. And it didn't take me long to realize that that was not a sustainable way of making money, because some things take longer to make, but they have fewer stitches. Some things have a whole bunch of stitches where they'll be paying you $100 just for something this big, because it's very dense and it uses up a lot of stitches. So that's not, I've never used that. It didn't make sense to me when I first, right off the bat, started embroidery, and that's what I was told. And I looked at it and I said, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't work, because you're going to either charge too little or too much. You have to look at other things. And we went over all of the things that you have to look into and add. So if you don't get anything else out of this, if you don't think about anything else out of this, keep that in mind. Throw away that X amount of dollars per 1,000 stitch formula. Throw that away. That does not work. It's not going to make you money. It's not going to sustain a business. And even if you just do this for fun and you sell a little bit on the side, that's fine, but you still want to be able to feel like you weren't used, I guess is the best thing. If someone comes up to me and asks me to make something for them, I want to feel like I made some money. I don't want to feel like I did a gift for somebody. I want to feel like I actually earned a little money. And the only way you're going to do that, you're going to have to put the price, the value of the product, and don't tell people what you charge or what you would charge, because I don't think that that's fair to the person that asked the question, or is it fair to yourself? Because like I said, I've seen on Facebook, and I'm sure you guys have as well, seen on Facebook many times people saying, so-and-so asked me to make this, I'm making 10 of them, and this is what it looked like. What do you think I should charge? And you really cannot fairly answer that question for that person, because what you would charge and what they would charge should be totally different, because you do have to take your market into consideration, and that means where you are and what your market would bear. What they pay in California and New York is not going to be the same thing they're going to pay down south in Carolina and Texas and Mississippi, Louisiana in the South. They're not going to pay the same amount of money. They're not going to pay the same amount of money in small town USA as they will in metro USA. They're not. People that make more money pay more money. People that make little money pay little money. So that's just the way it is. So you have to keep that in mind, but you don't short sell yourself either. You check out your competitors, find out what they are charging. Call them up, put in an order, see what they're going to tell you. Walk into the shop, put in an order and see what they're going to tell you. And when I say put in an order, I don't mean you have to go through with it, but just kind of have a conversation with them. Tell them what it is that you're trying to do as far as, I want you to make me this, that, and the other, whatever. And just get a feel for what they're going to charge. Then you'll have a feel for what the market is in your area. Then you'll have an idea of what you should be charging. Should you charge as much as a brick and mortar store? I don't think so, but it shouldn't be significantly less because you still have the same expenses. You still have to pay for your thread and your stabilizer. You still have to pay for the electricity, your machine, depreciate, all of that stuff. You still have to pay for it. The only thing that you may not have to pay for that they pay for is the inventory or the warehouse costs or, the bulk items that they have to buy bulks of stuff, but they may be saving money because they buy in bulk and we don't pretty much. They get wholesale and maybe we don't. So, they can charge a certain price versus what you charge. You may end up charging more than what they charge because it's costing you more. It just depends upon what it is. But those are the things that you do have to keep in mind. And everything that I've read says to keep a minimum floor price. That is your hooping fee. You don't remember to do anything else. Remember to do that. What happened? I disappeared. I don't know why, but I did. Hopefully you guys can see me. I saw myself hop off. I don't know why I hopped off, but I'm back on here. But as I was saying, your minimum floor fee, and do not charge stitches per minute, especially the $2 per 1,000 stitches. That's not going to work. Also, it is recommended that you round your numbers up as well. The fractions kind of throw people off, and I learned that on Etsy. They like it. You can go into a store and there's two things you're going to see. You're going to either see something that costs $29, $39, or you're going to see something that costs $29.99, $39.99. They always have these little special ways of charging. Rarely will you see something that says $27.43. You're not going to see a charge on a ticket for that. Now, why that is the case, I think it's because it's easier to remember a price instead of breaking them down because I never remember the change. If it's like the $27.43, I would never remember that. I will round it all up to 27 because like if it's $29, I round that up to 30 anyway. If it's $28, I round it up to 30. That's how I do because it makes it easier for me to remember what something costs. So that is one of the reasons why they suggest that you always round your numbers because it's friendlier for people to remember. So, someone asks you a price, $25, $30, $29, $39, something like that. Round up, not the fractions or the pennies. Even if your calculator comes up and says the charge should be $27.43, I would round that up to $28. Probably would round. For me, I probably just round it up to 30 and be done with it. or 29, because that's easier to remember. I'm not going to come up with that 2743 or what have you. That wouldn't work for me. Um, when you are, one more question. You guys didn't answer that first question, so I'm going to ask you another question, see how many people are listening. What happens, or what do you say to a person that is asking you to do something for you, and you do give them a price, and they come back with, that's too expensive? How do you handle that? Put an answer in the chat. Somebody answer that question. How would you handle that if somebody comes to you and says your price is too expensive? Not saying I can get it cheaper somewhere else. They just come to you and say your $39 is too expensive. While you're doing that, I'm going to say hi to people that hopped in that I haven't spoken to. Hi, Leslie. How you doing? Thank you for stopping by. And Marissa, how are you? Thank you for stopping by. Let's see who else, if anybody came in. I think that was it. So anybody can tell me, well, how would you handle someone saying to you, the price is too expensive? While you guys are doing that, let me tell you what I normally say. Well, first of all, you got to stay calm and smile. That's cool. After that, then you politely tell them why you charge what you charge. You let them know that this is not, your everyday product that you get out of Walmart, Target, off Amazon. This is something that is special and specifically made for you with all of your specification. Nobody's going to have this item but you. It's one of a kind. And one of a kind things has value. My time has value, and all of the product that I use to make this beautiful item for you. And because of that, it's worth X amount of dollars. That's how I would start off. I'm sure that would generate some conversation, but that's how I start off. And Carol, you said it has not happened to you yet, probably because you don't charge enough. That could be it. Now, I have to tell you, I have had that happen to me. Only once, though. It happened to me one time. And I know why it happened, which again was my fault, because I made the mistake of taking on a big order, and I did not price it correctly. I did not take into consideration everything. I was very excited to get the big order, or I wanted the big order, put it that way. I really wanted the big order. Plus, I knew the person that recommended the customer to me. So I kind of felt obligated. Again, that was me and my mistake and my inexperience. So with that being said, I did underprice myself. However, I did let the person know that they were getting a deep discount. That was, again, my fault. That particular person recommended someone else to me and told them I was cheap, pretty much. I don't know what the exact words were, but I'm pretty sure that's what they said. So that person came, the new person came to me and was expecting the same deep discount. I didn't know that person. There was no connection. And because I was aware of my mistake, I had no intention of making that mistake again. So I gave her a more correct price. And that did not go over well. She felt it was too much money. But she was expecting to get the discount that the other lady got. And I learned my lesson. You really can't do that because your reputation gets out there. If you undervalue your work, if you don't charge appropriately, that gets out. And then everybody decides they want to come to you because you're cheap. And then when you're no longer cheap, they don't want to use you. And me and this person went, well, I won't say we went round and around, but I did, I tried to work with her, but I did explain to her why my price was what it was. I also explained to her that the other person that referred to had gotten a discount and that it was a bulk order. I did all of those things. It didn't matter. I ended up not getting that person as a customer because I would not bend and charge her what she wanted me to charge her. I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to make that mistake anymore. And I'm glad I didn't because this person decided she didn't want me to purchase the garments like I had with the other person. And she was going to get it herself because she thought she could get it cheaper. She found out she couldn't get it any cheaper than what I had charged her because, again, I didn't do a markup on my blanks, which I should have, but I didn't. And I didn't do a markup on her blank. I told her exactly what I was paying for it, and this is exactly what I'm charging you, the exact amount of money of what I paid for, which was wrong. I should not have even told her that, but I did. It still wasn't good enough for her. And she went out and bought some things for me to work on that was a very poor quality, very poor quality. But she still didn't want to pay me what I asked for. So the bottom line was, come get your stuff. I won't be making your items for you because you're not willing to pay what I charge. So I didn't have that person as a customer, and I didn't regret it. I regretted the mistake I made. But I didn't regret the lesson that I learned because I never did that again. And I have yet to have someone come to me since then and ask me to reduce my price because from that point on, I gave my price as fair as possible and tried to value it where I thought it should be. And I still think that I don't charge enough, but I might try to use this pricing tool a few times to see how much different that the Excel tool is going to work compared to what I have been saying based upon what I'm thinking it's worth and see if there's a big enough difference. What I haven't done consistently is a hooping fee or a floor fee. I had said that I was going to use $15 as my floor fee because I've heard people throw that around saying they won't turn their machine on for anything less than $15. And you know what? I think I have used that because I have not charged anything less than $15. So I'm pretty much on point with that. But have I added enough on top of the $15 is where I think I'm lacking. I try, but I'm not 100% sure I'm there yet. But I tell you, I try. So it is a difficult conversation. It's a difficult conversation. And hi, Joni. How are you? Thank you for stopping by. You say you understand what I'm saying. Um, Pricing, I think, will always be a question mark that people have when they are trying to get started with their business, or if they're not very established with their business. People like Jeanette, people like Angela, Jasmina, people like Katrina from what is Graceful Creation, people like Sean, All Things Sean, the people that I watch, Eve from The Baby's Booty. These people have been doing this for a while, and they have mastered their fee, what they should charge. And I'm pretty sure that they're doing very well with their pricing. And they have done the trial and error and all of that, that us novice are probably still trying to figure out. And that's why their business has grown, and it is growing because they know what their value is. And that's the bottom line. You have to know what your value is. And that's pretty much what this whole conversation is about, the value of your work, how you price it fairly so you can make a profit, but be fair to everybody. I know Jeanette says that all the time. She wants to be fair to her customer, but also be fair to herself. And that's exactly what you have to do. You're not going to be a happy camper. And I can tell you, you're not going to be, because I've had a few sales that I've done, not many, but a few sales that I've done that I have not been happy, because after the fact, I felt like I didn't charge enough because things weren't as simple as I thought they were going to be. And I probably should have charged more money, but I didn't. So then I felt like I didn't make any money. And when you feel like you haven't made any money, then you're not happy, because how are you going to be happy? I don't work for free. My time is valuable. My time is valuable. My skills are valuable. My products and my materials are valuable. And so you have to take that into consideration. Now, Joni, let me see what you're saying. I am just a hobbyist, and people think they can get things done cheap or free. Makes a person feel so less value. That is true. And I know, I'm glad you put that out there, because oftentimes we don't value ourselves, because your first statement is, I'm just a hobbyist. But if you're selling anything to anybody, then you have passed that mark of being a hobbyist. Not to say that you have, quote unquote, a business per se. You may not have a business plan. You may not be incorporated. You may not have a business license. All of those things that make you, a legit business or an established business. But if you sell something to somebody, you do have a business per se, especially if you do it kind of regularly. And when I say regular, I don't mean like every day or every week or every month. If you sell something to somebody more than, I would say, more than 5 or 6 times a year, if you selling something versus giving it away, you don't make everything and give it away. I don't make everything and give it away. People come to me and ask me to make them something, and I tell them this is what it costs. I don't, rarely do I make stuff. If it's a gift, it's a gift, and that's different. Other than that, it's not a gift. I expect to get paid. I do. I expect to get paid. So that's why I tell people I have a business, because if I make you something, I expect to get paid. Am I making a whole lot of stuff and making a whole lot of money? No, I'm not. But I do not consider myself a hobbyist anymore because I don't do it just for a hobby. And just because, I like making stuff and putting it in the corner, I don't. I do things because I like to make things and learn how to make things better so I can sell more things. I have more things I can offer. Like I said, today I had someone ask me about a job. Can you do X, Y, Z? And I was very happy to say, yeah, I can do that. I've done it before because I learned how to do it. And yes, I can do it. And yes, I will do it for a price. So people will try to get you to do something for them cheaply or free. But that's when you have to stand up and let them know that your time isn't free. Your materials that you're using is not free. The electricity and all that kind of stuff that you have to use is not free. Now, you don't have to break it down to them like that, but there is a way to let them know that I cannot do this for you for free because it costs me money. And if I do it for you free, I'm losing money. And if I do it for you too inexpensively, then I'm devaluing the product and my time. And I can't do that. And I won't do that. And then either they come to you and pay you what you asked for, or they go somewhere else. But either way it goes, they're going to pay for it. If they leave you and go somewhere else, they still going to pay for it. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to pay more money. I've seen that happen over and over and over again. Marissa, you said, when one door closes, another will open. I will tell people thank you and have a nice day. If they want me to do the job, they will come back. And that is true. That is true. That's pretty much what you're saying to that person, like the person I told you about. I certainly told her to go. She did tell me she could get it done elsewhere cheaper, and I told her, go get it done cheaper. Because I'm not going to make this or these things, these items, it was more than one. I'm not going to do the job for you for less than what I'm charging you. I'm not going to do it. And if that means you go elsewhere, then you go elsewhere and be happy there. And I didn't tell her not to come back, but I was not going to accept her as a customer, even if she had chosen to come back, because I already knew she was trouble. And she probably would have been one of those that would have complained about every stitch, everything. There probably would not have been any way of me satisfying her, because she was not happy that I was charging her more than what her quote unquote friend paid. And again, like I said, it was my fault for giving the deep discount, and I have not done that again and will not do that again. Even when I do things for family and friends, I charge them what I charge everybody. I don't, if I'm gonna charge them anything, I charge them what I charge everybody. If I don't want to charge them, it will be a gift. And I will tell them up front, it's a gift. It's a gift. Therefore, no one can say, well, you did Sally Sue shirt for $10 and you want me to pay you $15. They can't say that. No, that Sally Sue got that as a gift because we're friends. I don't know you. We're not friends. You're a customer. This is my price. So, like I said, that was a lesson that I learned. I had to learn that in order to go forward. And, when you're new and starting off, you make mistakes, but you learn from your mistakes. That's the thing that's most important. And back to your statement, Marissa, where you said, was that you, Marissa? No, Joni, where you say they want it cheap. It is mentioned that always position your shop as a premium handmade embroidery shop, not a cheap embroidery shop. Don't have people have that impression. Do not tell them you're a hobbyist. You can say, I'm not a big established business, but I do charge for my work because my work has value. If it is good enough for someone to come to you and ask you to make something for them, then obvious they've seen some of your work and feel like you do a good enough work for them to ask to do something for them. Therefore, you have already shown them value. So you have valuable items to make, or your skill is valuable. So make sure that they appreciate that. You have to. Don't allow them to bring you down because you make something out of your home, or you don't have a business license, or you don't have, the incorporation and all of that kind of stuff. No, that doesn't cut the mustard. If you think that whatever it is that you want me to make, you thought I could do it well enough to pay, then I can do it well enough to charge you what it is worth. And if you don't want to pay that, then you go where you can get it cheaper. And I guarantee you that's not going to be the case, especially if they're looking for the same quality. Because back to this person that I was talking about that said my stuff was too expensive. When she initially came to me, she showed me a place. She showed me an item that someone else had done at a cheaper price. And I knew why. I looked at it and I instantly knew why. Because it was poorly made. That was the reason why she was coming to me. That was obvious. I looked at it and it was poorly made. It was not stitched well at all, not in a little bit. So naturally she'd come to me or somebody else. But then yet and still you're going to tell me you paid her X amount of dollars. Well, then you go back to her because she don't know what she's doing. That's why she didn't charge you, because she knew she didn't know what she was doing. Because I'm not going to sell you junk. I'm not going to sell you junk. If I do something, that's why I like to buy my own blanks. I like to buy my own blanks. I like to furnish my own stuff. I don't like someone to bring me something. I really don't like that. And if you bring me something, I really need to know where you got it from and how much it costs before I agree to do it. Because if I mess it up, I'm going to replace it, because I'm not going to give it to you messed up. Because accidents happen and people mess up. But I don't want to be in a position where I mess something expensive up and I can't afford to fix to replace it. So that's why I like to buy my own blanks. You tell me what you want, and I tell you where I can get it, that I can get it, and then I get it for you, and I go ahead and make it. And therefore, like I said, I know where I got it from, I know how much I paid for, and I know I can get another one if I need to, if I mess this one up. But I'm not going to give you something that's messed up. That's something I'm not going to do. Now, I was looking at some more information about selling and everything, and how people price and everything. And one of the things that was mentioned was to have a clause. If you have a contract, have a clause, especially if someone brings their item, that you're not responsible for replacing it. And that would be something that depends upon how you want to run your business, whether or not you want to go that route. But it's important to have that consideration because of the very reason of maybe messing it up. and not being able to replace it because, you know, that's certainly a situation that can occur. And Joni, you said, I have learned to stand up for myself and value my work when I sell at craft shows or orders. I guess because I don't sell all the time, I think of myself as a hobbyist. I shouldn't. And you're right, you shouldn't. You really can't. I I had a situation. I made some Christmas pillows for myself, and I had them on my couch during the holiday. And my daughter-in-law was over for the holidays, and she looked at the pillows and she said, "Oh my goodness, those are so cute. I love. They look just like a professional did." And I had to stop her and correct her. I am a professional. I sell my items. So I do this as a profession. No, I don't have a big, huge business, but people pay me to do things for them. And yes, those pillows do look professionally made. Yes. I had to correct her. Yes, they do look professionally made because that's what I do. So, yes, stick up for yourself, stand up for yourself, correct people. She didn't mean it as a slide to me, but it just came out of her mouth and I had to correct her. She was thinking it looks like something you bought out of a store, but still, the things that we make look like something that you could sell in a store. Matter of fact, the things that we make look better than a lot of stuff that you find in a store. Because I don't know about you, but I have looked at a lot of embroidered items in a store, especially a store like Walmart and Target and places like that, where the stuff that we do or I've done look way better than that. Way better than that. So, yes, our stuff is professional. Um, and Joni said, I like to have my own blanks too. I like to be in the driver's seat. Yes, exactly. Me too. I feel more comfortable if I know that I bought the stuff. I know where I bought it. I know how much it cost. Usually I'll get a couple of extra things just in case something doesn't go quite right. And that way I don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, I ran out of whatever the situation may be. It got stuck together. You accidentally, how many times have you accidentally bumped your hoop and things got off register and it stitched before you realized that it wasn't stitching correctly, and then you look at it and it is a hot mess, pretty much. It's a hot mess. So you got to do it over. And mistakes happen. I've had that happen. Accidentally bumped the hoop, or the hoop accidentally hopped out or whatever. And you look at it, sure, you can pick it loose, but is this the kind of fabric that you can pick the stitches out and redo it without it being noticeable? If that's the case, go for it. That's what the peg and stitch eraser is for. But there are some situations where that doesn't work, and you have to really do it over again. So you need to be able to have to get the item and redo it. And I have had to redo some things, at least a couple of times that I can remember. I had to replace. The customer wasn't even aware that there was an issue, because when I stitched it, it was messed up. I instantly got another one and redid it and put it in with the pile, and nobody's the wiser except for me. Did I lose money? Yes, I lost money, but that's all part of it. If you made a mistake and it's your mistake, then that you eat it. That's just the way it is. That is the way it is. And Joni, you said things are made so much better than what the store has, and it lasts a lot longer. Yes, that is true. And good night, Val. You're probably gone by now, but yeah, I just saw where you're leaving. Good night, Val. But anyway, yeah, the things that we make look a whole lot better. a whole lot better. And the most important thing is the fact that it is personalized. Regardless, I mean, even if they didn't put their name on it, whatever, you put the colors in that they asked you for. It had to be a reason why they came to you. It was something that they wanted that they couldn't just go to the store and buy. That's why they came to you to do it. So therefore, it is unique to them, and that is the value that you're providing them with. And that's why they should pay more money. And pricing fairly is not overpricing. It is respecting your work. Customers who value personalization will be happy to pay for quality. And we're not Walmart, we're not Target. We're offering something that is rare, unique, and meaningful because it was handmade and done by us specifically to their specification. And confidence comes with clarity when you know your cost and you say what your price is with pride. Be very prideful in saying what I do is worth X amount of dollars, whatever that X amount of dollar is for you, based upon what the market will bear in your area. Just keep that in mind. You're not overpricing, especially if you look and see what the average price is around you, and then go from there and take into consideration all the work that is required to achieve that particular thing that you're doing, and have your minimum floor price, that price that does not change. If you turn your machine on, that automatically is the first price and everything is added on top of that. Decide how much you want to make an hour and then put that into your equation. Put your markup in your equation as well. That's your profit. You have to figure out what your expense is to make it, and then add the markup to it, which should be somewhere between 25 and 50%. And then that's your price. And that's what you tell them. And Joni said, my project is not 100%. It does not go out the door. I'm with you. It does not go out the door. And a lot of people like to support small businesses too versus Walmart and Target. That is true. Once people recognize that you do good work, you will be surprised how many people will come to you first before they go to Walmart and Target, because first of all, they know they're going to get the quality work. And second of all, they know they're going to get the personalization. They know they can come to you and get it in the color they want it, get it to say what they want it to say, get the design that they're looking for. All of those things that you can't, how many times have you gone to the store looking for a particular item, particular saying, a particular color, particular anything, and you look and look and look and you can't find it? I found something close to it, but that's not exactly what I'm looking for. I wanted something in purple, and all I can find is teal and green. If you go to somebody else that does it in their shop at home, you can get it in purple 9 times out of 10 in the thread color you want and say exactly what you want. So that's your value right there. And that's how you should advertise yourself as well, to let people know I can give you what you want where you can't get it in a store or off Amazon. How many times have you gone to Amazon and searched and searched and searched and searched and you still didn't find what you're looking for? Not exactly. You find something close, but not exactly what you're looking for. So those are the things that give our things value. So that's, hopefully you all got something out of this. I know it's a lot. I know pricing has always and probably will always be a question and an issue for people, because we do fear overpricing or even underpricing our items. It's hard to really come up with a price and be comfortable with it. But if you keep a few things in mind that I mentioned to you, it will be helpful for all of us, including myself, because I had to remind myself as well to take on all the things into consideration, make sure that I don't cheat myself. Because I don't think I overprice. I think I cheat myself more than anything. I don't think I had the problem of overpricing. But yes, I think if we just keep that in mind. So, with that being said, anybody have any other questions, comments, anything like that? We will be meeting tomorrow night, you guys that come on to the Zoom with me tomorrow night, and work on our project. Hopefully we'll be getting done soon because we will be doing our reveal. I believe it's the last Tuesday of this month. And so you guys will see what we've been working on. And Joni, you say you teach yourself too, trying to do better. I know I'm trying to do better. I try to remember to use that floor. My hooping fee, and everything else goes on top of that. If you don't remember anything else, have a hooping fee, and everything else goes on top of that. Don't turn your machine on for anything less than what that hooping fee is, and then you add on top of that. And then you should be pretty straight. And Carol, you said the thread cost per 1,000 stitches is really good to find out. I thought that was pretty interesting too. I had heard, I've seen several different tools, pricing tools, and if you see the tool, this one girl had this Excel sheet, and she had all of the items across the top and all the items going down, and you just fill in the sales and stuff, and it calculates to come out at the end with the price. And that's kind of like the tool that I have that ChatGPT developed for me. So I am going to start using it and just trying it out and see how it works, and I'll let you guys know how that works. The math part, I'm not a mathematician. It does it for you. You just have to plug it in. But it is helpful to know that there are certain parameters that are considered common. So that's a good thing to know. So next week is our week 3. This is week 2. Next week is week 3. And it is top 10 personalized gifts that sell all year round. So we're coming up to fall. So you know what's selling now. Fall things, Halloween things. Next thing coming up is going to be Thanksgiving and Christmas. So those are the things that sell. But we'll also talk about what sells all year round as well. So you guys keep that in mind for next week. And Jenny said, do you or could you have a printable form of these? Of what printable form what are you asking for specifically that you want a printable form of? Because I have my slides, of course, those are printable. But we can talk about it tomorrow night if you like, and then go from there. And thank you, Jenny, reminding people thumbs up. Thumbs up are very important, you guys. Please don't forget to like, hit the notification bell, hit the thumbs up bell, hit the subscribe if you have not subscribed. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. And then tell somebody else to subscribe so this channel would grow. And yes, Jenny, I do have my slides, and I can email them to you, make them available if you like. But like I said, we can talk about this tomorrow night if you come in. And yeah, I'm more than willing to share this information because I thought it was informative, and if nothing else but a reminder of what you need to be thinking about. And go to use an AI and create a pricing tool. It'll do it for you. You'll be surprised. You can tell them what it is that you're trying to do, or you can let it do it on its own, and you'll come up with a tool that you can use that would be helpful for what you do. So that's my recommendation. So with that being said, I will say good night to everybody. Again, thank you for stopping by. I hope there's not a whole lot of freezing in this presentation. I don't know. Those of you that came in late did not hear the fact that this is an internet issue, and I'm in the process of trying to get a different internet company because I do not know why I can't get the feed that I should. I bought 2 booths and I'm still not getting the feed that I should be getting. That's a problem. But anyway, I will talk to you guys later. You guys take care. Thank you for stopping by. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a blessed rest of your week. Take care and good night.